Hey, what's going on? Ryan Kohler here, and I've got a cool AI tool for you to check out today. And so I'm going to walk you through it. But just so kind of reset here and make sure you understand, ex-founder of ApplicantPro, actually, I don't think the founder part goes away. But founder of ApplicantPro, stepped down 2 years ago, spent the last 2 years just like up to my knees in generative AI with this one main question: how can I create and help HR understand how they can use it? How will this be used not just to make their life easier, meaning more efficient, but to make them more effective at it, more effective at recruitment marketing and employer branding and recruiting, but also getting beyond just where I started in the recruiting world into new hire activation and amplifying and aligning your team and creating content about your culture and values that will inspire your team, or creating training and content distribution throughout your entire company. The opportunity is endless. And unfortunately, that also means that it can be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming because there's so many ways you could use it. And it could be overwhelming, number two, because, well, how do I even know how to use it? I need to become a prompt engineer. And it can be overwhelming because you're like, hey, I hear a lot of garbage out there about how it's scary, how it doesn't sound right, how it doesn't work the right way. I have an entire series of videos, if you haven't checked them out, on how to make it safe. Safe means secure. It means accurate. It means that it's friendly for you to use. And it means that it's effective, not just efficient, that it actually makes things better for your customers, your employee, your team, your managers, as well as more profitable for your organization to do things. But we're going to jump in and I'm going to show you this really cool tool set here. So I have this Talent AI tool Studio, it's called. And over here on the left are a whole bunch of different tools that I've pre-designed for you to use. The way to think about this pre-designed part is, if you use normal ChatGPT, besides some nasty security challenges that you might have, it also requires you to be a prompt engineer. It's you're in the driver's seat and ChatGPT's in the passenger seat. That means it can go anywhere you want it to go as long as you know where you're going and you know how to drive. And for most employees right now, and especially most human resource professionals, we don't know how to drive that car. So I, as an expert ChatGPT driver, have developed some tools that kind of put the bumpers on, kind of like, bowling with your kids, right? You put the bumpers up so that they don't go in the gutter ball and get all sad. It almost makes it impossible for them not to beat you. Well, that's kind of the goal here. And so I've created these very specific tools that will put ChatGPT, or generative AI, because we're not running through ChatGPT, we're running through OpenAI's API platform. That means it's safe. It means that your information does not go into their language model. But the tools, like this little job description writer here, well, it makes it so that the bumpers are on and it keeps you going down the path here, right? And so, like all of these tools, it's going to talk like it's me. I've actually programmed it with, a bunch of my personality, a bunch of my lingo and speech and all that kind of stuff, a bunch of my ideas about talent, becoming a talent magnet and recruiting. And so all you got to do to get started is just type in your name. But what you're going to see here is it's in the driver's seat. No prompting required. You don't need any fancy prompt engineering. The other cool thing about it is, normally it will ask you information about where you work and information about your company, but once you've used it once, it actually stores it in its memory. And so it will start to collect information about, in fact, you can see, if I remove my video, you'll see these little user settings over here. So the user settings are super important because this allows you to get even more in depth with training it to be like you. And so while this job description writer is set up so it will ask you the right questions about your company, about what you do, all that type of stuff, but if you really want it to get powerful as you're writing some of this stuff, you may have to come over here and use these tools to build out your company voice, your company writing frameworks, your own voice if you're using it to write emails from you, and your own writing frameworks. So just keep that in mind. But let's continue with this, and we'll kind of jump back in here and jump back on your screen so you can see me. There we go. And so it knows that Sally works at ApplicantPro because back here, when I was talking to it earlier, I told it that. And so you can jump back into this anytime, and it says, you're ready to begin updating your job descriptions? Yes. Let's go. So now it's going to, this was designed for one of my clients who came to me and said, hey, my goal this quarter is to upgrade and really kind of like refresh our job descriptions, like bring them into 2024. And so because of that, I created this really cool tool. So the very first thing it's going to ask you is, what do you want your job description to look like? And in order to do that, you just need to upload an example one. It could be an example of your own one, or it could be somebody else's. You can upload it by attaching a file, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to just jump right over here and grab a job right off of ApplicantPro and paste it back in here and say, here is an example that I want to use as our template. And I'll just go ahead and paste it right in there. It's now going to analyze that template and come back with a template for the flow of how it works. Job title and closing date, location, employment type, company introduction, role overview, benefits and perks, key responsibilities, ideal candidate profile, right? And so it's effectively creating a template for me, right? Now, I could give it some feedback, right? I could give it some ideas of how to change it or how I want it to be different. Or I could just say, hey, this is perfect, right? This is great. Let's use it on a job, right? And so I can just go ahead now. It's actually stored that template in its memory. So when you come back in to do the next job, right, it's going to be ready to go. Now, because it knows that I work for a tech company, ApplicantPro, that's about 300 employees that works in the HR tech space, it's actually going to suggest some job titles for me right off the bat. But I could always put in anything I want, right? And so I could say, you know what, I want to do a client success manager, right? So it didn't have that available, but I just went ahead and typed it in. And now it's going to go ahead and create out a job description for that role. Now understand at this point, I haven't actually given it our own requirements yet. So clearly it's making those up as it goes based off of what it believes it needs to use. That said, all of the stuff about our ideal candidate has to do with our own core values that it pulled when it was researching our company. The About Us section it pulled from researching the company. And so you can look at these things and it's going to say, please review and let me know if there's any adjustments. I could actually just ask it here and say, what would you need to know to make this more specific to our use case? Right? So you can always ask it a question. What would you, and I love this question. What would you need to know? The reason why I love this question so much is that it's allowing ChatGPT to analyze, or OpenAI, sorry, I keep referring to OpenAI, to analyze what it's already done so far and come back with information that you could answer. Now, there's a couple different ways that you could plug this in. If you had a job description, you could drop it in here and it would analyze that. You could type it up, which is not what I suggest, or you can use Otter. That's what I use. I use Otter.AI. I'd fire it up on my phone. It's actually running right now. You can see it right here. Oh, there we go. And so it's actually running on the fly as I'm talking. And so I could actually just come over here and answer these questions, right? I can explain what the specific responsibilities are, or I could interview the manager if the manager was sitting there with me. And so I could answer and I would state the question. Question number 1, specific responsibilities. Are there any particular tasks or projects unique to this role at ApplicantPro that should be highlighted? The success manager is all about not just doing customer support reactively, but is about proactively identifying triggers of challenges that clients have, identifying problem spots where they're bumping up against the software or bumping up against their process, identifying unique strategies of how we can help them before they even know they're running into a problem, and then to identify ways to solve that. Key performance metrics. Clearly, we track the feedback scores, the NPS scores of our customers, but those are not always predictable of the future and showing how we're being proactive. So we instead like to track metrics about number of outreaches to our clients, the number of success calls that we have, the number of new features turned on and enabled, the success or improvement of their sourcing numbers, etc. So once I have this, the team structure, there will be 5 people that report to the customer success manager. Each of them are customer success account reps who have 50 plus clients assigned to them, etc., etc., right? So now I could jump back over to Otter and I can see where I started talking about this. So I can just go ahead and copy and say, here are the answers, and just paste it in there. And so way faster than typing, especially if you're going to have an interview with a manager about a job. It's now going to rewrite the entire job description based off of that feedback. And so a great way to start and run the process of updating or refreshing or future proofing your job descriptions, whatever you want to call it, is this exact tool, is identifying the template that you want to use, whether you find it somewhere online or whatever, loading it in, then giving it the job title and even the old description you were using, then asking it like, hey, what would you need to know? Remember this question. What would you need to know to make this more specific or more dialed in for our company? It gives you those list of questions, and then literally just fire up Otter, walk over to your manager and interview them really quick and copy and paste it back in, and you're going to end up with an amazing job description when you're done. If you like it and it's doing great stuff, give it a thumbs up. That tells the AI model that you like the results it's giving. If you want to copy and paste it, just click on this. You can go over to your Word doc or whatever and paste it in, and you just create a job description that matches your job description template, that talks about your company, that is specific to the challenge set, that even has the influence from the manager, or you could interview an employee and plug it in here. The most powerful way to create job descriptions, and look at how many words I actually typed to do it. Almost none. This is amazing. And so, very cool tool that if you are trying to update your job descriptions right now, if that's one of your goals for 2025 is to have new job description based off of your changing work environment, the changing economy, the changing processes, your growth, or whatever the case may be, this is an amazing tool for you to use. And keep in mind, you can go and try it out for free. You can actually use it for free. Only if you use it too much do you have to upgrade, but it is here for you to use. I would love to hear your feedback. I would love to hear what we can do to make it better. So shoot me an email, heyryan@refer.io. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching this. I'll talk to you again soon.